Hello, and welcome back to the Astral Tourist. In today's episode, I'm taking you on an incredible astral journey where we'll visit not one, but two planets, plus a liminal space. First, we'll explore a futuristic high-gravity world where I meet a tall, white alien guide. I'm so excited about this episode. Oh my gosh. Then we'll venture into a mysterious liminal space before portal hopping to a tall white alien planet. So, grab your favorite beverage and get ready for an interplanetary adventure. So, who are these tall white aliens anyway? Well, the tall white aliens, also known as Nordics, are a type of extraterrestrial being commonly described in UFO and abduction lore. They are often depicted as humanoid with fair skin, long blonde hair, and striking blue eyes, resembling the stereotypical appearance of Northern European people. These beings are usually described as benevolent, advanced in technology and spirituality, and sometimes portrayed as guiding or assisting humanity. I have to scratch my head about that one because they're also known to abduct people. So that's a head scratcher for me, but that's the lore. Their appearances and behaviors have made them popular figures in the broader UFO and conspiracy theories surrounding alien life. I've seen them a few times in the astral. My own experiences have always been positive. I, of course, cannot speak for others, so I'm just speaking for myself and my own experiences, of course. So last night, I set my intention to visit a place in the future while astral traveling. My usual affirmation is also remember to remember to remember. It helps me hold on to the experience when I wake up. And it helps me go back and back and back again while I'm already astral traveling, remembering to take note of what just happened, remembering to do it again, and remembering to remember it again, and remembering to remember it again. And that's just how I do things. I quickly phased into a dark, bustling space. It was overwhelming at first. Everything felt heavy and intense. I was disoriented, floating in midair and trying to get my bearings. The area was crowded with small and large steampunk-like machines. I sometimes get into these areas that are just so full of technology, it's mind-blowing. There were a lot of beings around, but the atmosphere was thick, dense, and foggy. Excited, yet wanting more clarity, I commanded lights on and clarity now. I did both. Instantly, the sky lit up with dozens of tiny lightning bolts. And they also had little thunderstorms going on, these little tiny thunderclouds and these bolts and kind of like lightning bolt fireworks in the sky. In the astral, you can dream over the astral experience, like another layer that's just for you in your own mind. So I assumed that's what was happening, especially since neither the people nor the AI steampunk-style machines seemed to react at all. I felt a little disappointed because, my little lightning bolts were fizzling out, but I was determined to make the most of it. So I was like, oh. After the lightning display fizzled out, I decided to try asking for a guide. I wasn't putting much effort into it since it wasn't an emergency or anything like that, so I simply said I'd like a guide if one is available. It was a kind of weak, pathetic request. I didn't even really make it a command. Sometimes when I ask, whoever shows up is enthusiastic and ready to help. Other times, I get the feeling I'm being chastised for asking when I didn't really need a guide after all. And I'm left wondering, how am I supposed to know what kind of guide is available and hearing me call, How do I know if they're a little more strict or if they're going to be happy to pop on over? I can't read their minds from afar like that. Still, I had made it to a planet in the future, and I wasn't about to give up so easily. I figured if I got chastised on this attempt, then it would be worth it. This planet was worth it to me. Being the persistent astral tourist that I am, I floated around in the dark for what felt like 10 to 15 minutes. No guide had shown up, so I was just exploring in the dark, feeling my way around slowly. The beings here were about 4 to 5 feet tall, with wide, wrinkly, grayish tan bodies, and they were a very odd color to me. And remember, in the astral, our minds are always interpreting colors and information and everything else, so that was just the best my mind could make of these beings. And they were dressed in various dark-colored clothes. Reddish brown seemed to be a popular color. It wasn't quite rust, but like a little bit brighter. A lot of them had that. Others were in tans and grays that kind of matched their bodies. Most of them did not have anything bright on. Once in a while, somebody had some kind of hats I couldn't really make out that had a little bit of white in them. And again, it was really dark. I could barely see. I was still feeling really dense there and just struggling to be there at all. It was hard to make anything out clearly. I was just doing the best I could because I wasn't going to give up. I tried striking up conversations with a few of them who weren't operating the complex steampunky machines. But they were either too zoned out or too preoccupied with what they were doing to notice me. I do feel like some sensed my presence, but they were just so preoccupied. They weren't going to bother with me, or maybe they just weren't quite lucid enough. Anyway, I wasn't having much luck. Then, after all this time had passed, out of nowhere, a tall being appeared to my left. He was at least 7 feet tall, with pale white skin and a dark blue form-fitting uniform. His ears were delicate and slightly pointed, kind of like Spock from Star Trek, but not as pronounced, not nearly as pronounced. They were very delicate looking. And his soft brown hair was neatly combed to the side, and it was more of a lightish to medium-toned brown hair, like full of light, though. His eyes were round and grayish. Immediately, I knew he was one of the tall white aliens I'd encountered before. Before I even had the chance to greet him, he cracked a joke. "So I see you had some trouble with the weather." I couldn't help but laugh, and he joined in. His humor instantly put me at ease, especially considering I never know what I'm going to get with a guide, So he was just super nice. In the moment, I completely forgot myself and gave him a quick hug, which, oops, was probably a mistake, since physical touch in the astral is usually off limits without permission. But he didn't seem to mind, smiling like it was no big deal. And just as far as how the hug felt, I thought he felt, what's the word? Stalworthy? I can't think of it right now. Anyway, not rigid even, just, very confident and firm. And but he wasn't hugging me back or anything. And which was the right thing for him to do anyway, because I shouldn't have hugged him in the first place. And realizing my slip up, I pulled back and apologized right away. I don't know what got into me. I just hugged him. I was just so happy to see him. But he just kept smiling and said, "Right, so please come this way." He was just so good about that. Suddenly, we were both standing in a bright white storage room filled with cardboard boxes and giant stuffed toys. Some were even wrapped in plastic as if they were ready to be shipped. The whole place had that unmistakable feeling of a liminal space, one of those in-between zones that exist between dimensions. As we walked through this surreal room, the tall white alien said, "There's a planet I think you'll find interesting, not far from Earth, so you should be able to spend a good amount of time there." We reached the back wall, and he opened a door that was actually a portal. The portal itself was just a blinding white light with no indication of where it led. I thanked him profusely being very careful not to hug him again, and I hopped on through that portal. You don't have to ask me twice when I'm getting help from a guide. I materialized hovering over a futuristic city. The skyline was filled with sleek metallic structures intertwined with greenery. The sun was enormous, casting a whitish glow, unlike our yellowish sun. The gravity felt lighter, and the atmosphere had a soft, ethereal glow. The beings here were tall and humanoid, with various hairstyles and hair colors that ranged from medium browns, silvers, platinum blondes, and pure whites. Like my guide, they had delicate pointed ears. It did not take me long to realize I was on a tall white planet. The sky above was mostly white, but wisps of pink and ivory swirled through it, adding a surreal touch to the already otherworldly landscape. I was there for what felt like 2.5 to 3 days, though that's just an astral time. When I woke up, a lot of the details had faded, but I do remember connecting with a few people. One woman in particular spent a lot of time with me. She did my hair for an event we were attending, giving me a shiny, platinum blonde, wavy look, kind of like a gentle perm. It was so bright. As I gazed in a mirror at it, I also noticed my astral body was glowing white instead of being its usual misty, translucent form. Afterward, she tried to communicate the name of her planet at my request, but the translation did not quite work. It was something like 3 words, with the first being shorter, but we couldn't quite nail it down. Still, our efforts helped me to remember her, and that's enough for now. She had made me feel so comfortable there and welcome, I just had to do everything I could to not forget her. I also met another being, a jolly fellow about 4 to 5 feet tall. He seemed human at first, but I quickly realized he wasn't, especially when he became fascinated by our Earth's sun and its yellowish hue, telling me how much he loved it. It actually looks white from space, but he was talking about how it appears from Earth. Apparently, he had visited Earth before and was very proud of that fact. He took me to an incredible place, a vast portal room on the tall white planet. There was a giant curved wall displaying 3D models of suns, moons, and planets. Thousands of portals were embedded in the curved interdimensional wall, each one leading to a different world. He was especially excited about one of their suns, which he kept pointing to, saying, "Just look at the size of that sun. It's even bigger than your Earth's sun." It was a moment of pure joy for him, and I didn't want to spoil it by mentioning that Earth's sun isn't that large compared to some others. I was so grateful to him for showing me that room, and it was fun getting to know another tourist from a whole different planet than Earth. I'm still processing all the incredible sights and experiences from this trip. It felt like I was gone for at least 3 days in astral time, especially if you count that first planet, all within 1 night on Earth. Not even the whole night. I think about 6 hours worth of time passed here. I know it sounds wild, but that's how it works when you astral travel to the future. The time dilation is real. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with other kindred astral and cosmic travelers. I know you all are, because my channel keeps growing. Until next time, happy astral travels.